worry for incessantly are my two 60-plus-year-old parents.
Businesses that will thrive, businesses that will hurt. You know, we live in a digital era, but this is like digital 2.0 now. You know,
Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so let's talk about the whole aspect of business and whatnot.
Right.
Like you said, I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And my main thing is video production. And
Mm-hmm.
so event coverage.
Mm-hmm.
We travel all over to do documentaries for organizations,
Mm-hmm.
commercial shoots, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is at a halt.
Yeah.
Completely. You know what I mean? And so now the business has to be even though we do deal with digital, social media and all that stuff, we more so have to focus in on that like never before. And it's kind of straightforward for my industry because it's media. But
Right.
how does the car rental company navigate this? There are businesses that are non-essential and not easily transitional to the new digital 2.0.
I agree. And here's what I will say to that. Technology can be used in new and creative ways that most people haven't thought about. And I'm not going to even assume that I can think about how technology could be used in every industry. Some smart person, a smarter person will figure that out. But I always say that technology is a tool. You just need to know how to use this tool to further your reach, to further your effectiveness, and most importantly, because I've been learning customer service very recently as a challenge from a friend of mine, to be able to enable a better customer experience and onboarding. So like you can compete on many of those different levels. So the car rental company could still rent cars, but probably use the technology to touch base with customers long before they even come. What's stopping a car rental company from having Zoom chats with customers and being able to show them their fleet up front, especially if they're charging a premium service? So for me, it just comes down to being able to see what customer preferences are and where they might have gone or where they will go because of this new world. It doesn't mean that a business closes. It means that a business just changes its mode of operation somehow. Accountants, for argument's sake, or actually to speak to yours in particular, you will travel again because what you have is an expertise. Computers haven't fully replicated, although it will happen, and I know creators argue against this, but it hasn't fully replicated creativity just yet. You just need to train the models a bit better, the AI models a bit better, and it could.
Yeah, there will be no AI like Oprah. You understand? Okay.
Don't say that here.
AI freaks me out. I'm not going to lie to you, but it is useful. It is helpful. It is inevitable. It is here. And, you know, it is how the people who have the technology and who are creating everything, you just have to put in place the right ethical standards, which they have done.
Yes, I agree. That's important.
Yeah, and it's being done.
I think it's going to force us to survive. And I like to err on the side of positivity when it comes to that, particularly for businesses. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurs are supposed to be nimble. Mm-hmm. You start again, go and start again, you know?
Quickly, businesses that will thrive, businesses that will hurt. Thrive most, hurt most. Everybody's feeling it, but thrive most, hurt most.
Everybody's not.
Anybody
who's making pharmaceuticals right now, they're thriving. Those guys business is booming for them. Money, as I tell people, Rachel, and I don't know if I told you this before, money is a form of energy. You were in science, if I remember correctly, back at school, right?
Yeah, early.
For a bit, right? Right. So there's always this saying that energy is never created nor destroyed, it changes form. So money is a form of energy, if that definition stands as true. Money doesn't stay one place. Somebody is always benefiting from it, except if it is under a mattress. Somebody's always benefiting. A bank is always lending to someone or paying some bill. So businesses will thrive in any crisis. Somebody will always thrive. So pharmaceuticals, doctors, if they want to work and can afford, and people can afford their services. Media persons, believe it or not, this is a perfect environment for media.
Content creation is going to
Yes,
be key.
correct. Or content transitioning is what I'm going to call it. So, case in point, I'm the chairman of Cost Cap. We had a meeting, a finance committee meeting a few days ago, looking at how we were supposed to adjust in this environment. Something of note that came up in the meeting, which I could speak about, was the fact that DJs have migrated already online. Now, it's nothing new. People like David Davis would have been doing Under the Tamarind Tree for years now. When I started my own Facebook Live thing, he had just started Under the Tamarind Tree, and that's grown immensely by now. DJ Diamond, I don't know if she still does it, but used to have these feeds, live feeds on Facebook Live as well in the early days.
Just had the Tipsy Fat and all the, with all the DJs playing, a virtual fat that just happened.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of that emerging. Correct. Content is.
But I'm saying that there's not nothing new, but it's more accepted now.
Correct. Yes.
No, the only thing is that a lot of them don't know that the best way to commercialize is via, and this is a bit of advice, Patreon, having a Patreon page and inviting your fans to go there and pay. There are some people that will support you that way. And if anything, do use a YouTube Live instead of Facebook Live, because Facebook Live doesn't allow just yet donations, but YouTube Live does. So those guys in entertainment can benefit, musicians can benefit. It might not be an organic experience, it might just be trendy for now because of the circumstances, but it allows them to probably reach audiences in a more curated manner going forward. You can deal with your own patrons and people who would always support you no matter what, and this you can curate that now. People who will pay regardless, pay for merchandise, pay for special performance online, a one-on-one, whatever the case may be. I see, believe it or not, I don't see a change for research-driven institutions or research-driven roles decline. I see, however, if educators are really serious, a way for educators to actually provide lessons to a wider cross-section of people, particularly given that most of these children that were born Gen Zs, and even younger than these Gen Zs, people who were born post-2015 this year, will more so learn via video or real-world immersion, VR, AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality. Those guys learning that way. And if it is that you're providing lessons to persons in that particular age group, then this is the perfect time to come on and say, well, lessons are going to be online, child. You don't have to drop your child to this place. So, I find people who will be innovative will have that. Who will struggle? I don't know if your forum or channel will carry this, but prostitution definitely will struggle. Anybody who's involved in anything sexually related, although pornography could very well benefit from this stuff. And that's an argument I've been having online with my friends.
That's come up on several occasions. I don't know why that's a hot topic, but
well, because it's the most intimate form, intimate in-stream.
I guess so. Yeah, and and
anybody who's dealing with personal services. So, okay, on the flip side, if you're doing delivery, right now is a good time for you. And Lily Dash started her own delivery business. We Fetch, WI Fetch, and then there was, of course, Hopscotch, which was an innovation.
Which was on it. So
so anybody in that space right now can create a following, an even deeper following, because the concept would not be foreign to people in this environment. People need stuff. They don't want to stand up in lines. You have to wait at least for 2 weeks. There's this 2-week window where some brand could really establish itself in the minds of Barbadians as being the brand to go with. When we come out of it, it becomes a brand of convenience, and most people will be willing to use it. They are considered considered essential services. So there's this 2-week window that if these Hopscotch guys and Billy and We Fetch are really going to dig in, they got to spend, they need to advertise, they need to fight like dogs out there to get into the minds of Bajans, because there's going to be at least if we don't have an outbreak like this ever again, there's never going to be a better time to plant yourself as a delivery business in the minds of agents than now. People are home, people want content, people will be online a lot more. On the flip side, in terms of service delivery, persons who unfortunately might be maids, artisans, definitely this is not a time for them. Construction, definitely not a time for them. Nail techs, anything that involves touching another human being, barbers, this is not the time. However, it could force them to change the way, number one, they provide the service in terms of how people pay, and how they advertise. A lot of people don't advertise.
Right. So this is the thing now for me, and if I put on my communications hat and my media hat, this is the time. Therefore, even if you cannot exercise those services, you need to keep those services top of mind, so that in the event that this does subside, you are the person that people go to. And this is
Exactly.
this is the opportunity for, even if you are a nail tech, to show, to also create content. So people are always online. If you have videoed how you did somebody's nails, share that, because I think it's important that in this point in time when you are home, and this is where you start working on the business instead of in the business. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs who are in the non-essential category to work on your business, and using the tools that you have online to have a presence and stay top of mind.
No, that's very good advice. And, you would hope that banks are aware, because I know you're going to interview other financial professionals of these impending changes and what it means for their customer base. A lot of people, unfortunately, because we're still a heavily driven service economy, will not be able, when we come out of this, to pay their bills.
How are you adapting?
All right, so I'm a university lecturer first and foremost. I don't do as much consulting as I did years back that you would know about. And it did affect me in a positive light from that business end, where I'm not going to be forced to be in front of students face to face. I'm very comfortable speaking generally, but I do not think that mode of delivery is as effective as schools in the Caribbean think it tends to be. I think a lot of our students now coming up, anyone who was born after the year 2000 is a video first person. These guys learn a little more immersively via video. So it's forcing me to do something that I used to do a little bit, but not as often, based on university regulations. I actually prefer to teach like this, believe it or not, or as I would have done recently, but I don't think you saw, on LinkedIn, using animations. I started learning how to do animations and that stuff while doing explanations. And it's on YouTube and LinkedIn. But it's forcing me to embrace this side a little more. But on the personal front, I will be 100% honest, given that it's you that's interviewing me and not some random journalist or some journalist. No, I'm saying because the editor is always the person who can spin the story. You are the editor.
That's true. That's true.
So I'll say this as honestly as I can. I, for myself, and this may be stupid of me, I'm not very worried.
Okay.
I don't carry, to my knowledge, any major complications just yet. It may very well happen in my life. And so the odds of survival, just if I'm going on math alone, pretty high if I do contract the disease, the virus. Who I worry for incessantly are my two 60-plus-year-old parents. But yet their jobs are essential, so they have to brave it out. And that keeps me not necessarily up, but it worries me immensely. And they're not near retirement as far as their careers go. They're not near retirement. They're early 60s. So, and they're not going to retire just yet. So, but nonetheless, what I mean is that, like many Barbadians, they have instances of non-communicable diseases, hypertension and whatnot. I'm not saying specifically that it's those, but that. And I worry about them. I have a younger brother who works in construction. He's always out and about around people. He's always had issues breathing sometimes, right? So I worry about him.
Yeah.
I worry about my closest friends. I worry about people I love. And this instance, I worry generally as well about the general health of our population going forward. And it's in that order.
And we were talking about a scenario of May 30th, just throwing out a date. And we
Yeah,
also
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about a 6-month span after that. But when does that 6-month span start? Does that 6-month span start in December?
Everybody believes it's
2021?
September. Everybody believes it's September based on how quickly
Yeah.
China was able to eradicate the disease, or not eradicate, but to control the virus. And that is assuming there are no further waves. There's 2 more waves of this expected, because that happens with flus. A flu would break out during the winter, but sustain well into the summer because of different waves of the flu. And if this virus moves just like any normal coronavirus, there's this expectation there may be 2 more waves. And that waves is what adds to this belief that it may take 6 months after you're able to deal with this flu, and there's this COVID-19 version of the COVID-19, excuse my ignorance. And the vaccines are able to, deal with most cases. Then you have the second wave if the vaccines are ready. Cuba claims to have a vaccine. And then you have the third wave. So, it could extend well into like middle of next year, late summer, early autumn next year, given how this is going. It could.
Wow.
It could easily extend. No joke.
No, so I was hoping to end on a high note. But okay.
No. It can, but it depends on waves. I don't know if these waves are coming.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I just think human beings, we are resilient.
Very.
I mean, this is something that it's just that it's something we're experiencing our lifetime. I've never been through a world war, but then, generations and generations before have had their crisis, and the world has evolved. You don't ever want a crisis to happen, but it's here, and all we can do is just think of ways to reimagine our world and execute around that reimagination.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, but thank you so much for taking
the time
to talk to me, and
getting on as if I wouldn't.
No, man, this has been an absolute pleasure, and so please stay safe, and we'll keep in contact.
You and yours as well.
And I look forward to hearing more about your journey as you navigate this COVID crisis. Yeah.
Likewise. Cheers. Cheers.